Discover the incredible moment a waitress exposed a mafia boss's hidden trap, saving 100 lives. Sarah wiped her brow as the bell above the door chimed. The cozy diner was her haven, a world awash in the familiar scent of coffee and greasy burgers. But the moment Tony the Shark Marino stepped inside, the air thickened, tension spiking in her chest. She'd seen him in newspaper headlines, his chilling reputation sending shivers down her spine. The laughter of regulars faded into an unsettling silence. What was he doing here? "Just a coffee," he barked, leaning back in his booth. She hesitated, her fingers trembling as she poured. In the days that followed, Sarah often joked that her wit was sharper than her knives, but here she was faltering. The diner was a sanctuary for her and Danny. How could she let fear stain that comfort? Suddenly, the quiet murmur between Tony and his cohort pierced through her thoughts. "Just make sure it goes off at the gathering," he said, voice low, yet dripping with malice. Her heart raced. Gathering? She forced herself to listen closer, knowing she was treading perilous ground. A deep instinct told her to turn away, to pretend this moment never happened, but she couldn't ignore the knot tightening in her stomach. Each word fed her dread, unraveling the fabric of her reality. As she served their meal, culinary instincts took a back seat to the simmering chaos in her mind. What could this mean? She pictured the faces of her neighbors and friends, families bound together by shared struggles, unaware of Tony's insidious plans. Could she really be the one to protect them? A single mother with debts looming overhead? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can, leave a like. It really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The real battle was within her. Nerves tingled, and the ache of uncertainty pounded in her temples. Every nerve screamed to retreat. What came after confronting a monster like Tony? Would she lose everything? Danny needed her alive, but the horror of the gathering kept gnawing at her mind. What if her fears were justified, leading to the catastrophe she sought to prevent? She grabbed a nearby notepad, scribbling down snippets of their conversation, her hands shaking. Visions of Danny's laughter echoed, a sweet reminder of who she was fighting for. But doubt crept in, displacing her fleeting determination. In that moment, could a waitress pin down a mafia kingpin? The very thought felt absurd, yet rooted deep within her heart.
Just as she glanced up, a shadow crossed the diner, a figure she didn't recognize. Was this someone sent by Tony? With her heart in her throat, she realized the stakes were much higher than she had dared to imagine. What if Tony caught wind of her probing? Would they pay her a visit? Closing her eyes, she steeled herself. This wasn't just about survival. It was about standing up for everyone. She felt the walls closing in, drawing her deeper into a web of danger that threatened to ensnare not just her, but the entire community. With that weight bearing down, she prepared for an impossible task, unaware that betrayal was lurking closer than she had ever feared. The air in the diner felt suffocating, shadows waltzing across her thoughts with each tick of the clock. As she poured another cup of coffee, Sarah's mind raced through her options. Should she confront Tony directly? Could a single mother standing behind a counter truly interrupt the course of a mafia kingpin's plans? Doubt seized her tightly, but the image of Danny, his innocent smile and unyielding love, refueled her resolve. With a determined inhale, she shifted her focus. For years, she had been just a waitress, with dreams tucked away in the corners of her mind. But now she felt something stirring within her, a spark of purpose igniting her very being. She was more than her circumstances. The question was, how to harness that emerging strength. That evening, after closing up, Sarah slipped into the back room. The flickering fluorescent bulb cast an unsteady light, mirroring the turmoil inside her. She searched for a pen and paper, drawn to document her unfolding thoughts. If she could piece together what she overheard, she might find a pathway forward. Taking a breath, she began to write, her hand flying across the page as adrenaline coursed through her veins. The words flowed in a chaotic frenzy, gathering, details, explosions. She couldn't just list the threats, she had to understand them. Each word she penned unraveled the uncertainties coiling in her gut, transforming the shadows of doubt into clarity. After hours of writing and piecing together snippets of overheard conversations, she stepped back, absorbing the importance of her new mission. This was her turning point. As daunting as it seemed, she was uncovering a hidden strength, the ability to confront the darkness threatening her community. She might be a waitress, but now she was also becoming a storyteller, a guardian of truths that could dismantle a looming disaster. Yet the stakes heightened. Now that she had the beginnings of a plan, the danger loomed large on the horizon. What if Tony was watching? A chill crept down her spine. She was already a target, but instead of cowering in fear, she chose to lean into it. She needed an ally, someone inside the world of shadows. Cautiously, she recalled Danny's best friend's father, a local mechanic rumored to have ties with the wrong crowd.
He might know something about Tony's operations. It was a risk, but she was ready to take it. She gathered the notes, folding them into a clandestine packet, knowing that each whispered word could save lives. The idea of confronting Tony directly was still unfathomable, but seeking information, gathering allies, this she could do. The next morning, with her heart heavy but her spirit alight, she walked into the garage. She spotted Danny's friend's dad engrossed in an engine. The aroma of motor oil mingled unsettlingly with her own rising trepidation. "Hey, can we talk?" Sarah called out, her voice steady but her insides churning. As he turned, surprise flickered across his face, followed swiftly by something darker. She inhaled, preparing to plunge into unknown waters. This was her moment. But just then, the sound of a revving engine shattered the silence, drawing her attention to a sleek black car pulling into the garage, its presence making her breath hitch. It wasn't just any car. It belonged to Tony Marino. Her heart pounded violently in her chest, and she realized how precarious her pursuit had become. Could she truly wield her newfound resolve as a weapon against the darkness approaching rapidly? Would she have the courage to face the very man she sought to outsmart? The moment of truth was fast approaching, and as the engine roared and the car door swung open, Sarah understood. This was only the beginning. The engine's hum subsided, leaving an eerie silence in the garage. Sarah's breath caught as she glanced at Danny's friend's dad. His expression mirrored her fear. This was not just a meeting. It was a baptism by fire, and she was about to step into the inferno. Tony stepped out of the car, his tailored suit clinging to him as if it were a second skin, exuding authority. He scanned the garage, a predator inspecting its territory, before his eyes landed on Sarah. Her heart raced as she prepared for the confrontation she had anticipated but never truly imagined would escalate so quickly. She took a step forward, awareness buzzing in her veins. "Hey, what are you doing here?" he asked, a predatory smile creeping across his face. There was a casual ease about him juxtaposed with an underlying menace. Sarah felt small, yet she held her ground. This wasn't about bravado. It was about survival, for herself and for Danny. I came to talk about the cars you've been working on," she stuttered, gripping on to the thin thread of confidence. It felt flimsy against the weight of Tony's stare. It would be easy to crumble, to retreat into the shadows, but resolve coursed through her. She needed to learn, to gather information, even if it meant treading in dangerous waters. "Cars?" Tony chuckled lightly, his interest now piqued. "You know about mechanics, do you?" "Not really," Sarah admitted, a hint of vulnerability slipping through. Each word felt like a small victory.
She could sense the tension shift. She was drawing Tony into her tangled web. It wouldn't suffice to reveal information now, but planting a seed of intrigue felt like a step towards empowerment. If he thought she held any sway or knowledge about his operations, she could position herself closer to the truth. Tony's eyes narrowed, assessing her with the meticulousness of a hawk sizing up its target. "You've got guts, I'll give you that." He leaned against his car, the casual demeanor undercut by an air of danger. "But know this, curiosity can be a dangerous game." "Maybe," she replied, grasping for the essence of bravery within her, "but ignorance is deadlier. I need to know more." In that moment, Sarah could see the wheels turning in his mind. Was he weighing the benefit of keeping her close against the risk she posed? She sensed the balance of control teetering, but she couldn't falter now. The vacuum of information was a weapon she hoped to wield, and weakening the monopoly of fear Tony maintained was her goal. Tony shook his head slowly, as if deliberating. "You have two kinds of people around you, those who play the game and those who get played. Which are you?" His question lingered in the air, like an unshakable challenge. As she stood before him, the tension sharpening around her, she questioned her own role in this precarious dance. Would she play the game, becoming a pawn in Tony's plan, or would she find a way to tip the balance in her favor? "A different game," she responded, feeling a flicker of defiance flare. "Well then, welcome to the fold, sweetheart. Let's see if you can handle the heat. As he stepped closer, Sarah knew the flames had only begun to smolder beneath the surface. Her resolve firmed. She would not back down. However, the implications of her words settled heavily within her. What had she just invited into her life? With that, Sarah realized the depth of her journey had just begun, but the stakes were higher than ever. As Tony turned back to his car, his laughter echoing in her ears began to take a sinister tone. Time was ticking, the air thickening, as she contemplated her next move. Could she gather the insight she desperately needed before the darkness wrapped around her for good? The moment of preparation felt as immense as the threat now before her, yet she was fueled by courage and a burgeoning sense of identity. But as she turned to leave, she noticed a familiar face lurking in the shadows of the garage, a figure she hadn't expected, someone who could alter her path entirely. The unknown loomed, and with it, an opportunity or a trap. Either way, Sarah was poised to confront whatever lay ahead. Sarah stepped away from Tony with unsteady breaths, her heart pounding like a restless drum. She held herself tall, relying on the adrenaline coursing through her veins to lend her strength.
The figure in the shadows emerged, revealing itself to be Danny. As their eyes met, a flood of emotion surged within her. Fear, relief, and an unshakable determination. Danny's involvement with this world had always been a silent worry in the back of Sarah's mind, yet she felt a strange comfort bear down on her in his presence. Together, they were caught between uncertainty and rebellious ambition. "Are you all right?" he asked, concern painting his features. "I will be," she replied, her voice steadier than she felt. "But I need to know more about what Tony's up to." Danny shook his head, a blend of admiration and caution swirling in his gaze. "That guy is bad news. You don't want to mess with him." "Messing with him is already my plan," she countered, determination sharpening her words. "I can't just sit back and let him control everything." "What do you think you can do?" Danny asked, a hint of doubt lingering in his tone. "I'm going to play his game," she said, her resolve igniting like a flame flickering brightly, illuminating the rented space around them. "But I'm changing the rules." Beneath the surface of her bravado, Sarah wrestled with the reality of her situation. Was she equipped to outmaneuver someone like Tony? Could she honestly penetrate the veil of deceit he cast over everyone in his orbit? "Look, I wasn't kidding when I said it's dangerous," Danny pressed, glancing back at Tony to ensure his uneasiness was unwarranted. "He doesn't play fair." "Neither do I," she shot back, her voice steady despite the tremors rippling through her. Here was a pivotal moment. She could pivot towards safety or plunge deeper into the abyss, seeking the information that could illuminate the dark corners of deception. She realized she had already taken a step off the precipice. "I have to start by understanding his operations." Danny's jaw tightened as he studied her. "And how do you figure to do that?" "I need a way in, some way to gain his trust." The words tumbled from her lips like clockwork. "I'm hoping you can help with that." Danny regarded her with surprise, disbelief morphing into deep contemplation. "You want me to get close to him? It's risky." "Risk is part of this," she interrupted, frustration mingling with her urgency. "Do you want to keep running or fight back? That's the choice we're facing." Her statement hung between them, a thin line tethering their divergent paths. After an interminable pause, Danny exhaled slowly, the resolve hardening on his features. "All right, if you're serious about this, I can line things up for a meeting, but I can't protect you." "Just get me in there," Sarah urged, feeling a pulse of triumph. "I'll do the rest." As they huddled together and whispered strategizing, the thrill of the game coursed through Sarah. Transformative possibilities filled her thoughts, stitching together her desire with newfound potential. She envisioned approaching Tony as an equal, rather than merely a pawn, an image that ignited a craving for empowerment within her. They finalized their plans, a stark contrast to the wariness that permeated the garage. But amid her rising confidence, a darker thought lurked in the shadows of her mind. What awaited her in Tony's world could spin far beyond her comprehension, and the finer path of darkness might also reveal her own hidden weaknesses. As they prepared to separate and dive deeper into their convoluted roles in Tony's orbit, a sense of foreboding washed over Sarah. A raw adrenaline surged as she stepped away, fully aware that every corner might hold her undoing. An unexpected revelation, an encrypted message from Tony, left her breathless, a connection she had brushed past, now rising ominously within her grasp. With exhilaration tinged with fear, Sarah turned back to Danny, resolved to exchange the remnants of her innocence for the cold, hard truths of the game ahead. What she didn't yet know was that the hidden connections and alliances formed in the underbelly of Tony's empire might pose the ultimate test of her mettle, leading her closer to the truth than ever before.
The moment had come to redefine her understanding of trust, and she would soon discover the price of knowing too much. As the sunlight sliced through the cracked windows of her apartment, Sarah's mind flickered with images of the past few days. Each moment spent with Danny replayed in her memory like a fragile film reel, its frames filled with urgency and rebellion. The thought of infiltrating Tony's inner circle both terrified and exhilarated her. As she prepared for the impending meeting, the stakes escalated. This wasn't just about survival, it was about reclaiming her agency. Underneath her eagerness lay a knot of anxiety. Could she really persuade Tony to trust her? The prospect of entering his world sent shivers down her spine. Yet with each beat of her heart, the logic became clearer. She didn't have to manipulate him entirely. Gaining a foothold would be enough. She was no longer simply a pawn in someone else's game, but a player with her own objectives. Determined to hone her strategy, Sarah spent the day assembling her worth as both an ally and a contender. What talents could she fledge from within? She had always been insightful, quick on her feet, and an adept observer of human behavior. Tapping into these skills, she decided it was time to adopt a persona, someone Tony would view not just as a waitress, but as an asset. As she stood before the mirror adjusting her outfit, Sarah mentally drafted potential scenarios. Would she flatter him, or would she assert her relevance as a resource? Perhaps a little of both. The warning bells chimed within her. She had to remain vigilant against her own feelings. Heroism had its price. Danny's words echoed in her mind. He doesn't play fair. Did she truly understand what that meant?
With every passing moment, she acknowledged how precarious her position was. The risk would not only impact her, but potentially engulf anyone connected to her. The danger crystallized, morphing her fear into fortified resolve. Once she arrived at the diner where the meeting was set to unfold, Sarah's senses heightened. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee blended with the sound of hushed conversations, creating an atmosphere ripe with anticipation. She first spotted Danny sitting in a booth, scanning the room like a hawk. His presence calmed her racing thoughts. "Ready?" he asked, his gaze steady. "More than ever," she responded, determination coursing through her veins. As they finalized their tactical thoughts, the reality of what lay ahead settled heavily on Sarah's shoulders. She made a silent promise to herself to remain forthright, to always seek clarity among the lies, no matter the cost. Gaining Tony's trust would be a delicate dance, one that could subvert and ultimately empower her. When Tony finally arrived, a smirk etched across his face. Sarah felt an electric charge in the air. His arrogance oozed from him, and she braced herself for the careful performance she would have to execute. Despite an initial wave of intimidation, her confidence surged. His egotism was his weakness. The dialogue began, tinged with playful banter, but she maintained her focus on the undercurrents. The way he surveyed her reactions told her he was calculating, sizing her up. Each of her responses had to be measured and laden with intention. She twisted her body slightly in her seat, a practiced move to draw him in further. "I can offer you more than just a view from the counter," she suggested, letting her voice drop to a conspiratorial whisper. "I'm more attuned to the streets than you might believe." The flicker in his eyes confirmed she had provoked his interest. Did he recognize her as a potential player? Someone who could tip the balance of power? That sense of agency she craved pulsed within her. Each heartbeat reminded her that with every word she uttered, she molded her fate. Yet lurking behind their charged exchange was something profound, vulnerability. It danced precariously close to the surface, begging to be addressed. What if Tony could uncover her true intentions before she was ready? She braved the uncertainty, reminding herself that complex truths often lay buried beneath the bravado. As the conversation weaved through flirtations and threats alike, a nagging question emerged. What threads were left unspooled? What unseen traps had Tony laid for her? Each layer she peeled back revealed glimpses of his world, a mosaic of loyalty and betrayal, and Sarah sensed she was edging closer to both danger and enlightenment. Driven by an unexpected spark, she breathed deeply, realizing that the lines between hero and villain were blurred, and now she must navigate them with cunning precision.
In that moment, Sarah understood. Uncovering the secrets woven tightly in Tony's empire could either elevate her position or lead to her downfall. The confrontation was not only external, but also deeply personal, testing her evolving identity in this relentless game.
Just as she was about to dive deeper into her newfound role, her phone vibrated ominously. She glanced down to see an unknown number flashing insistently. A tight knot of fear tightened in her gut, threatening to undercut her burgeoning confidence. The implications of the message inside could shatter everything she had built in mere seconds. The unspoken tension between ambition and danger loomed larger than ever, leaving a single, stark truth hanging in the air. This game was just beginning. What would happen when she unlocked the door to everything she sought, or when it unlocked her? The buzzing of her phone pulled Sarah momentarily from her encounter with Tony. With a deep breath, she dared to open the message, anticipation thick in the air like the aroma of coffee swirling around them. The screen illuminated an unknown name. The digits confirmed her unease. A single line read, "We need to talk. Tonight." There was no signature, no indication of who had sent it, but the urgency was unmistakable. Her heart raced. The implications could be multifaceted, but the uncertainty was a chasm in which her better judgment could easily falter. She briefly glanced up at Danny, who was still engaged in a tactical discussion nearby, unaware of the turmoil about to disenchant her focus. Play it cool, she reminded herself. Fractured thoughts spiraled around the essence of risk as she turned her attention back to Tony. His demeanor shifted. The confident smirk faded slightly, and an inscrutable gaze bore into her. Perhaps beneath the concerns of that cryptic message, there lay a silver lining. What if it was part of the game, another way to leverage her position? Would this unknown sender be an ally emerging from the shadows? "I have my ear to the ground, Tony," she reassured him, deciding to play off the previous message, diverting his queries about her distraction. "You won't regret giving me a chance." The gleam in his eye sharpened. "You think you can navigate waters you've only just begun to explore?" he challenged, his voice lilting with skepticism. "Actually," she replied, her confidence growing, "I've been swimming longer than you realize." Each word was a calculated stroke, crafting a narrative that intertwined her aspirations with his ambitions, an intricate web where both might find gain. As their banter unfolded, Sarah became increasingly aware of the delicate balance she needed to maintain. Every detail mattered, how she gestured, how her words punctuated the silence between them. The dual narrative she had to embrace took shape. She could either bind herself more closely to Tony, or delve deeper into the lingering threads of mystery surrounding her unknown communicator.
Yet each path carried its risks. People talk, things happen out there, and the right information is gold, she stated, leaning closer as if to share a secret among thieves. The notion of violence, lurking just beneath the surface, began to thrill her. Could she exploit that thrill to bolster her agency against the tides of danger? Tony's carefully rehearsed mask cracked slightly, revealing genuine intrigue. "Information is power, Sarah. Who are your sources?" he quizzed, surveying her with a newfound intensity that felt like a spotlight on her heart's most guarded secrets. "Ah, but wouldn't you like to know?" she teased, flipping the script to keep him on his toes. "I can be the key to accessing the city's beating heart, but like all treasures, I must be safeguarded." For a moment, Tony was silent, as if contemplating her point. Beneath the bravado exchanged, they were equally matched, locked in a mental tug-of-war, each measure ponderous and pregnant with consequence. Never before had she felt this intoxication, a combination of fear, empowerment, and a relentless pursuit of unknown outcomes. But then came the gnawing question that stole her breath. What if she were to burn a bridge before she built it? The person behind the text, whoever they were, could be the tipping point, not just for her ambitions, but for the lives around her. As evening shadows deepened around the diner, enveloping the pair in an alluring yet sinister glow, her decision tightened like a noose. Would she cast aside her previous allegiance to Danny and interpret this twist as an opportunity to rise higher still, even if it entailed forging unexpected alliances? "Tell me," Tony said, his voice laced with a predatory charm that sent shivers down her spine. "What do I need to know about you?" In this crucial moment, Sarah examined her internal landscape. Her ambitions surged against the fracture of potential downfall. She could articulate a carefully crafted lie or harness the truth as a weapon. "But then you'd realize how much I'm worth, wouldn't you?" she responded, the words rolling off her tongue with unexpected certainty. Just when she thought her footing had steadied, another vibration startled her. As her heart raced and she diverted her gaze to the phone again, the realization struck that her entire world was positioned on a precarious cliff. She had stepped closer to revealing her true self, and whatever response awaited from her informant could swing her fate in unforeseen directions. Now, as the dance with time pressed more heavily than ever,
She felt a torrid flipping of her ardor and fear. The shadows didn't just conceal secrets. Perhaps they held the key to illuminating her true strength. What would she uncover if she dared to unmask both Tony's vulnerabilities and the motives of that unseen ally? Would embracing risk propel her into a realm of newfound power, or would it purge her of any remaining stability?
As Sarah clutched her phone tightly, her choices loomed larger than life itself. The next move could shatter illusions or forge her destiny. Would she reset the board of power dynamics, claiming her independence from both Tony and the specter shadowing her? The night, draped in uncertainty, awaited her choice. The coffee shop buzz faded into a distant hum as Sarah felt the tight grip of urgency coil around her thoughts. The message weighed heavily on her fingertips, each heartbeat syncopated to the rapid-fire mental flashes of potential consequences. Who could it be? A former acquaintance, or a blatant threat meant to derail her ambitions? She could feel the adrenaline ebbing and flowing within, urging her to make a choice. As she caught Tony's hawkish gaze upon her, a newfound clarity surged through her. This wasn't just a simple tete-a-tete. This was an opportunity framed in the guise of imminent peril, a risk that could either obliterate her plans or catapult her into unforeseen power. Tension crackled in the air, and she had to navigate this precarious balance between alliance and betrayal. "Okay, Tony," she said, allowing a slow, deliberate smile to curve her lips. "What's in it for me?" It was a bold maneuver, but one laced with a gravity that matched her heartbeat. She needed to seize the moment, to assert that her value extended beyond mere information. He leaned in, intrigued, and the table between them became an unspoken battlefield. Information is often a currency, but trust? That's the real treasure in this world. Intrigued yet wary, Sarah shrugged. Trust is a fleeting thing, Tony, especially in this business. Her words were an indictment, a reminder that alliances were often transactional, and if he wanted to draw her into his fold, he'd need to lay something substantive on the table. A flicker of appreciation danced in Tony's eyes, recognizing the grit behind her resolve. "Fair enough. Let's broker a deal then. You give me your sources, and I can ensure your safety and advancement." The ambient noise of the diner felt more significant, the heightened drama unfolding just outside the conversation. She was often an observer, but here she was an active participant in a game where stakes were dangerously high. But beneath that confidence lurked uncertainty, questioning if she was truly able to jet through these murky waters without capsizing. Yet the text hashed its power over her. Though doubts danced around her mind, she couldn't afford to hesitate. That unseen ally held secrets that might fortify her position if harnessed correctly. "And what if I get you that intel first before enlisting your help?" she retorted, hoping to put Tony on the back foot, an unexpected twist exposing his vulnerabilities. "And what if you get burned?" he shot back, eyes narrowing with scrutiny. The challenge ignited a visceral response. "Then I'll be one step ahead." "I refuse to be a pawn in anyone's game," she asserted, her voice calmer than she felt. It was time to flip the narrative. She would not carve her path in panic. Clarity and strategy could transform fear into strength. As she leaned back, the din of clinking cutlery and conversations faded from her awareness. The unclear echoes of that morning's casual life felt like a distant memory. In this moment, she recognized the warrior that was slowly forming within her, someone capable of navigating chaos with finesse, armed with resourcefulness and fierce determination. But just when she thought she had clarity, the vibration from her phone sliced through the fragile stillness once more. It was not merely a reminder of the unknown, but rather an invitation from fate, pulling her toward an inclination she had yet to grasp. "Tony," she began, the pulse of her energy shifting directions. "Let's talk strategy, but be aware this isn't going to be a simple negotiation." The air around them electrified as their positions pivoted toward a potential alliance, one that required mutual respect and understanding of the risks they were each willing to take. In that fleeting moment, where ambition met uncertainty, Sarah felt the unfamiliar weight of her burgeoning strength. She was teetering on the edge of revelations that would demand tough choices. What lay beyond the obscurity of the night? Would she emerge from the impending meeting stronger, unveiling truths that could solidify her standing, or unravel it altogether? As the clock inched closer to the time for her encounter with the sender of that ominous message, Sarah understood that her next moves were pivotal. She could either weave herself into a tale of success or dig her own grave. The pressure bore down on her, a cocoon of possibilities tinged with dread and excitement. And somewhere in that apartment not too far away, someone awaited her answer, an answer that could either fortify her position or shatter it entirely. Would the hidden connection yield an alliance that would elevate her ambition, or was it a trap lying in the shadows? Now was the time to find out. The beanbag chair felt uncomfortably warm beneath Sarah as she leaned back, the tension in the air pulsating with energy. It was a reminder of the decisions looming ahead. The clock ticked mercilessly, each second amplifying the weight of the choices she had yet to make. "Let's start by outlining what you have to offer," she directed Tony, steering the conversation with deliberate focus. She needed to convert this moment from tension to transaction, from vulnerability to strength. Tony's lips twisted into a grin that barely masked his intrigue. "You act like you're in control, but we both know there are powers far greater than either of us." He looked around, ensuring their conversation remained private, and Sarah felt the weight of his warning linger in the air. The stakes aren't just about you anymore.
As he spoke, Sarah absorbed his message, pushing through a fog of intimidation. It dawned on her that she was not just trading information, she was positioning herself in a world designed to crumble the weak. Could she truly withstand the pressure, or would anxiety usher her into despair? "You're not wrong," she replied, internalizing her resolve. "But vulnerability can also be a strategy. I face tougher challenges than you might think." Her confidence was untested, but gleamed like armor. She was tired of merely reacting. It was time to provoke action. "Prove it," Tony challenged, leaning forward, his interest ignited. It seemed almost too easy, but Sarah thrived on challenges. Now, let's discuss resources, and starting with the message sender will be crucial. As their conversation delved deeper into strategies and potential alliances, a ringing in her pocket interrupted once again, signaling the moment she had anticipated. It held the weight of change, a chance to metamorphose her path. "Are we ready for this?" she asked herself silently, feeling the chill of uncertainty merge with unyielding ambition. Could this turn into a powerful alliance that would carve her identity in stone rather than shadows? With her heart racing, she accepted the call, her voice steady yet brimming with affection for the unknown. There was no turning back now. "Let's see what the next chapter holds," she whispered, ready to confront the enigma tightening its grip around her future. The air crackled with energy as Sarah pressed the phone to her ear, her pulse quickening in sync with the ringing. She felt a potent mix of fear and excitement. The uncertainty of the call's content felt like a weight pressing down on her resolve. Never before had a moment felt so pivotal, but leaving her comfort zone was becoming a necessity instead of a choice. "Hello?" A voice pierced through the static, and her heart skipped a beat. She recognized it. Jasmine.
the contact who had secretly moved within the labyrinth of whispers and shadows. Jasmine had always been a few steps ahead in the game, a locator of truths buried beneath layers of deception. "Jasmine, it's Sarah. I'm in," she stated, firm yet tentative, as if sealing an unspoken pact in the very declaration. A pause, followed by a soft chuckle. "Well, aren't you bold today? You must be eager for your next move." "I'm prepared to engage. What information do you have for me?" Her tone turned sharp. Clarity of purpose was essential. No longer could she afford to wade through the murky waters of uncertainty. Jasmine launched into a rapid-fire analysis of various players occupying the spectrum of this perilous game. Names, connections, hidden agendas flew past her ears, and as Sarah processed the torrent, she noted something profound. She was absorbing more than just facts. Each name revealed a potential ally or enemy, and each story was a potential lesson hiding in plain sight. The thrill of gaining strategic insight pushed the adrenaline through her veins, but it also ignited her insecurities. Had she truly crossed the threshold into this world where lives hung in balance? "What's my next step?" she probed, needing a compass amid her burgeoning ambition. "You need a plan. Move from reaction to action." Jasmine's tone shifted, serious and authoritative. "Connect the dots. Find out who knows what and how they can work for you instead of against you." It struck her. Jasmine's advice was layered with the understanding of fulfillment beyond mere data collection. It was about positioning herself as a leader, a figure not merely acting under pressure but orchestrating events for her gain and the benefit of others. Suddenly, the obstruction in her path became a bridge to her growth. The phone clicked off. Jasmine's last words echoed in her mind. Rather than succumbing to anxiety, Sarah would embrace the role she was stepping into. She would no longer be the passive observer. Ideas began to flow like an electric current, invigorating and guiding her. As she looked across the room, it was no longer just her dimly lit surroundings. It transformed into a battlefield. She visualized the connections she could foster with whom she had spoken, and the potential of alliances forged through mutual benefit. Yet doubt lurked, whispering insidious thoughts. What if the risks outweighed the opportunities? Casting aside doubting thoughts, she focused inward. Resilience had bred creativity in her past failures, and they would again. A revelation struck. Her ability to analyze motives wasn't just a defense mechanism, but a strength to wield. She'd become a player, and it was time to leverage her skills in ways others had overlooked. As she glanced toward Tony, still chattering away, she realized their partnership needed more than synergy. Trust was vital, but it required her to be transparent about her ambitions. "Tony, can we talk?" she called, her voice steadying, drawing his attention away from a document on the table. "What's up?" he asked, casually dismissing the weight of the conversation, but as she approached, determination filled her frame. "I want to make sure we're aligned on the vision." She licked her lips, formulating her words. "This isn't just about survival. It's about turning our struggles into a foundation of power that elevates the both of us." The flicker of surprise played over Tony's features, and it emboldened her. This was her moment to redefine not only her situation, but to shift the narration of her life into one where she was the author. "All right, let's explore that together," Tony replied, leaning in as if ready to dissect the intensity she projected. But just as the tension began to ease, another ring pierced the air, wrenching her back to the reality of uncertainty. The game was far from over. "Who now?" she murmured under her breath, aware that something significant lurked behind that call. As she picked it up, her instincts flared with caution. "This is Sarah," she answered. "Sarah, it's time you learn about what's coming," came the voice, low and hurried, soaked with urgency and dread. In an instant, the weight of their fragile alliance began to feel perilous and vulnerable, and she knew the stakes had just risen higher. She had not just stepped onto the field. Now a storm was brewing, and she had to decide if she would succumb to chaos or harness it to rewrite her destiny. The diner was alive with an electric hum as Sarah took her place at the counter, her heart racing.
She had traversed an arduous path from ordinary waitress to a pivotal player in a dangerous game. Today was the day she would confront the shadows of her past and muster the courage to reshape her future, and nothing could quell her resolve. With each customer that entered, the stakes escalated. She leaned against the counter, observing every hushed conversation, every furtive glance, and each flicker of deceit layered beneath the mundane. Today, she was armed with knowledge. Today, she would reveal her strengths to both Tony and the hidden allies she had begun to rally around her. A few hours into her shift,
Danny joined her at the counter. His brow was furrowed with concern. "You're in deep," he remarked, pouring a coffee and taking a steadying breath. "Be careful." "More careful than I've ever been," she replied, determination etched into her voice. "But I'm ready to harness this. I've learned to navigate the traps." Danny nodded, understanding that her transformation had taken root. Once their conversation ended and the diner emptied out, Sarah knew it was time to act. She took a moment to breathe deeply, allowing her thoughts to crystallize into concrete decisions. The message from Jasmine had propelled her into a strategic mindset, one that saw potential where before she only saw darkness. It was now or never. As the clock inched toward her meeting with Tony, anticipation tightened its grip around her chest. She waited for him to saunter in, his aura commanding the diner's atmosphere like a heavyweight boxer stepping into the ring. The jangle of the bell above the door sliced through her apprehension, announcing his arrival. He was dressed immaculately, confidence radiating from his every pore. "Look who's organized a little powwow," Tony smirked, settling into his usual booth. She approached, stopping just a few steps away, pivoting from apprehension to assertiveness. "I need to clarify our objectives, Tony," she said firmly, her composure steady under his piercing gaze. "Let's discuss the strategy for navigating our way through the chaos." His eyebrow raised, curiosity piqued. "All business today, are we? I like it." "Good," she shot back, refusing to bend under his flirtation. "Because we have polar motives. I'm in this for power and safeguarding our community from the destruction you may unleash." There it was, a clear proclamation of intent. She was no longer just reacting to his whims. She was changing the game. Tony's laugh resonated through the diner. "You've got fire, sweetheart, but this isn't just about bravado. You think you have what it takes?" "More than you realize," Sarah countered, suppressing the jitters that threatened to rise. "I'm more connected than you know. I've been working on a network that could expand your reach while safeguarding my own." It was time to unveil the mapping of her newfound alliances. Names flew out like arrows, connections she had pieced together from Jasmine's insights. With each name, she strategically built her case for cooperation, her words constructing a tangible landscape where she could thrive. "I propose we bring in some of my contacts, people who can provide the intel we need. Together, we could form an insurmountable front against our adversaries." She paused, the weight of her intentions lingering in the air like smoke from a powerful flame. "This isn't just about survival, Tony. It's about dominance." The challenge hung between them, heavy yet charged with promise. Tony leaned back, intrigued. "Now you're tempting me. But what do I get out of this?" "Access, loyalty, and a sense of renewed power, something you've lost sight of in this cycle of manipulation. I can be your equal partner." A crack of appreciation flickered in his eyes. She had shifted the power dynamic, and she relished this. However, she wouldn't allow complacency. The game was volatile, with betrayals whispering through shadows, and she had to remain vigilant. As Sarah finished her pitch, the phone vibrated sharply again, heralding change, Jasmine's connection igniting her unquenchable ambition. "It's time to gather our forces. I'm ready to cement these ties," she declared, holding Tony's gaze steadfastly. He scrutinized her, weighing her assumed confidence against the vulnerability she bore. "Very well," he finally conceded, nodding slowly. "Let's see if you can deliver." Outside, the world was tinged with twilight as they strategized the next steps. The exhilaration of her transformation gripped her heart, a wicked mixture of risk and exhilaration, but also a raw understanding of the power she wielded. In the days that followed, alliances blossomed. Sarah confidently orchestrated dialogues, weaving threads of influence that elevated her standing alongside Tony. The diner transformed from an everyday backdrop into a war room, and she reveled in the creative momentum she had harnessed. Now she understood. She had become more than a waitress. She was a strategist of her own fate. One evening, as they huddled over coffee, a member of the emerging network brought news: vulnerabilities in Tony's guard. "This is our moment," Sarah affirmed. No longer a pawn, she now wielded the sword of intelligence to dissolve the threats threatening her community. As they plotted their maneuvers, Sarah felt an undeniable surge of satisfaction. She had taken the raw clay of uncertainty, fear, and vulnerability and molded them into something fierce: self-empowerment. When the time came to confront the looming threat head-on, she ushered forward, purpose burning bright within her core. The diner, once a symbol of simple safety, now became the launchpad for reclamation of agency and influence. Sarah's heart thudded with palpable confidence as she readied herself, each beat resonating with the realization of her formidable transformation. She had achieved more than just survival. She had conquered the very fears that had once bound her.
The final confrontation unfolded in a surge of energy, the culmination of all her efforts and growth. The hidden message that had once brought her fear now transformed into an invitation for liberation. Victorious, Sarah looked back at her journey through the diner, no longer hesitating, but boldly stepping into the light, her identity firmly established, her path chosen. This was not the end. No, it was a powerful beginning. Today, she was not just a waitress. She was a collaborator, an architect of her own destiny. She had arrived, her position solidified. She had become the voice of her community, navigators of coalesced truths and guards of the future. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, illuminating the diner in a glorious hue, Sarah knew she was exactly where she was meant to be, transformed not just in title, but in essence. It was time for the world to hear her roar. Before this story fades away, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and support our journey together. Comment your thoughts and theories about Sarah's incredible transformation. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Show your support for stories that matter.